welcome lovers. I don't know what I'm doing, but you probably already knew that. And housekeeping. That's what we're talking about today. As someone who has done housekeeping in a small chain and a large chain, I know a decent amount about it, so I figured I'd talk about it today. First of all, I'd like to talk about the things that general people who aren't housekeepers don't seem to fucking understand about being a housekeeper. First of all, for regular rooms, like checkout rooms, like if you have a regular room and you check out and we go to clean it, we only have like 20 minutes to do the whole room. Like if it's a regular room, that's all you have, 20 to 30 minutes if you're in like really lucky, but usually it's like 20-25 minutes. And like you're pretty much timed. You're on a timer the whole time that you're working. Every day you go to work as a housekeeper, you are on a timer. So you go into a room and it could be fairly decent, like somebody checked in one day, checked out the next, barely touched anything. Easy, you can clean that in 20 minutes. It's not hard. And it's easier to like do a more thorough clean that way too. It's like, because you start with removing all the dirty linen from the bathroom and the sheets and all that stuff, checking under the beds and the closets, in any cabinets and drawers and things like that, removing trash, wiping things down, changing the sheets, vacuuming, dusting, cleaning the bathroom, all that kind of stuff. If you have 20 minutes and the room is pretty much clean, no problem. Simple. But the problem is 9 times out of 10, the rooms are not very clean. Obviously, people have been living in them the worst. The worst is when you have to get a room to clean that there was like a family in. Children. Oh my God. Anyway, I'm not saying I blame anybody for that. Children are naturally messy. They're children, but I'm just... Ooh, let me finish first. Most of the time, the room, when you go into it, is messy. And sometimes you get absolute tornado disaster rooms, which is like, oh, what's one of the worst rooms I had? I had a room where the bathtub was completely full of water, dirty water. The sheets from both beds were stuffed in the tub with the water. For some reason, the sheets were not dirty, I checked, aside from, you know, the water. All of like the little amenities had been used, so there was trash everywhere, in the cabinets, in the drawers, under the beds, all over the floor. There was food like smushed into the carpet. There was like paste, like toothpaste or like hair gel or something like that all over the counters, in the shower. And I've actually had one room where they never flushed the toilets. There was like an actual like pile of shit in it. And then there's like people who like sneeze and bleed and pee and other things on the bed. And some people just, you know, break shit and don't clean it up. A lot of times it's their shit that they break, so that's less of a problem for me, but it's still all over the floor. And I don't even know how to begin to explain the time I came into a room where there was just a big blood smear on the wall that was obviously just like period blood, and they didn't even try to clean it up. Oh my God. And I hate rose petal rooms. You know how sometimes you can go to a hotel and be like, oh, it's an anniversary. Hey, can you put rose petals all over the room? I get it, it's fun and romantic for you, except no. If I go into a room with rose petals, I automatically just go, fuck. Because you never grab them all on the first try. Like you try, you can't vacuum them either. You cannot vacuum them. I have tried, it doesn't fucking work. So you have to get down on your knees and grab them individually until you have handfuls, and then you throw it in the trash and keep going. And you never get them all on the first try. There's always some under the bed or in the sheets or hiding under a desk or like stuck between the wall and something. And oh, I hate them. Not to mention the fact that people tend to leave their belongings behind, like all the time. I can't tell you how many times I've gone into a room and somebody's medication, like important ass medication, is just sitting there, like out in the open. Like, how did you miss that? I know that sometimes it's easy to just like, you grab everything, you put it there so you don't forget, and you forget anyway, but so many people, what the hell? So imagine, for a minute here, You open up a door during your shift as a housekeeper and you see a disaster. You have 20 minutes to pick up all of the dirty towels, including all of the dozens of extra ones they for some reason needed and used, cleaning up all of the dirty sheets and calling down for switching out dirty pillows and inserts for the bed, having to dust the entire room between every crevice and in the drawers, because we are required to do that, take any belongings that were left behind, bag them and tag them for the room and the time you found them, taking all of the trash in the drawers, under the bed, in between where the sheets were, in the closets, on the floor, and throw them in the trash bag on your cart, having to spray and wipe down every single surface in the room, all of them, having to go onto the balcony and clean everything out there, having to change out the sheets on either a king-size bed or 2 queens or doubles, which is just twice the work because 2 beds, making sure they look pristine and the pillows' edges are sticking up because that's a requirement. It is. Replenishing all of the amenities, which means coffee, cups, those little cookie things you sometimes get in the little coffee bins, napkins, mixer things and cream and sugar for the coffee thing, all of the bathroom amenities, towels, toilet paper, shampoo, soap, conditioner, and then having to clean the whole of the bathroom, the mirror, the surfaces, the toilet on the inside, the surfaces, the outside, and the base of it. You have to clean the base around it, including on the back where it's hard to reach. Because if you miss a spot on the toilet, it's an automatic fail for the room. Cleaning the shower, like cleaning the walls, the tub, the handles, the shower head, changing out the curtain, and then on top of all that, having to clean the floors. So sweeping out the balcony, vacuuming the actual room, sweeping and mopping out the bathroom, and then spraying this scented stuff to make the room smell nice. 20 minutes is not enough time for all of that. But we are expected, regardless of the dirtiness of the room, to do it in 20 minutes. So you can imagine the constant stress we're going over. When we come in for work, we have a full board, which is like 17 to 20 something rooms assigned to us specifically. And all the rooms that you walk into are disasters. And knowing that if you're not done with work by this certain time, you could get in a lot of trouble because you're working over the time you were scheduled. On top of the fact that you are legally required to take a certain amount of time for lunch. You cannot skip lunch or you get in trouble. Because if you skip lunch, then they can get in trouble. And if they can get in trouble, you can get in trouble. And like, most stayover rooms are fine. Most of the time, stayovers aren't that hard because you have 15 minutes for people who are staying over, so you just go in to generally pick up. And because we're not allowed to move their personal items around, sometimes you don't have to make this bed because there's 5 open suitcases on it. And you don't want to get accused of stealing if you just move it. So usually if it's a stayover, you switch out the dirty linen, you take out the trash, and then you spray down the surfaces, make sure there aren't any like horrible stains on the bed sheets, like blood or something. And then like maybe do the floors if they're like really dirty. But unfortunately, because stayovers are usually not that bad, whatever company you're working for then expects you to take the extra time it doesn't take you to do the stayovers to add it on to your checkouts, which to a degree is reasonable. But if you have 2 stayovers and 18 checkouts, it's kind of unreasonable to expect that the 2 make it easier to finish all the rest in a reasonable time. Not to mention the fact that sometimes stayovers are also disasters. They'll have like 30 wet, nasty towels, trash that's overflowing from all the trash cans, nasty crumbs on the floor. You'll have to change out their sheets because somebody peed. So sometimes the stayovers take 20 minutes. The only two things I consider to be at least reasonably timed are suites and deep cleans. So a suite, as I'm sure you know, is usually about twice the size a regular room. There's usually more than one bathroom or more than one room area, a kitchen, all kinds of stuff. Bigger balcony, you know. But they give us 60 minutes. So if I have a big suite that has one king-size bed, a pull-out bed, and then like a big bathroom, I can do that in 60 minutes. If that room is an absolute disaster, I can still usually do it in 60 minutes because that's an hour. So as long as you're rushing around and moving as fast as you can, it's not too hard to get those clean within the time span and not miss things, you know? And a deep clean is a little bit different. A deep clean is when you move the whole bed and vacuum under it. When you take like scrubbers and get like really into stains on the walls and underneath the counters and stuff like that. It's like you move everything, clean where they were, put them back, and then clean regularly. That's a deep clean. And usually a deep clean is given between 60 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on where you're working. And usually that can be done. Me personally, I don't need help with moving the beds because I'm actually pretty good at the whole leverage thing without hurting myself, regardless of being kind of small in stature. But if you do need help, then you can call down and be like, hey, I have a deep clean. They'll send up like 3 people to help you move things, which helps so much. Because when you're doing like a regular room, you can't just call and be like, hey, I need help. Everyone has the job to do already. So the point I'm trying to get to is it is really, really difficult, even as a good housekeeper, to not miss things sometimes. Like there are some things that definitely shouldn't be missed. Like if you look under their bed and there's like a used tissue or like a wrapper under there, that's not okay because we're supposed to at least peek under the bed to see if there's trash. If there's like 1 cup missing from the coffee thing that has 3 cups, or if you go into the bathroom and you're missing like hand soap, or there's 1 fewer towel than you think they're supposed to be. Or maybe there's like in the corner of the room where there's a little bit of carpet, there's like crumbs that the person missed. I guess my point in this is just please be patient with housekeepers because our entire job is just anxiety, basically. We're running on a timer the entire time. We are rushing around trying to do the very best. Sometimes little things get missed. We're human. It can't be helped. So I'm just asking that as people, you please be patient with your housekeepers. And like, not only that, but on top of all of those responsibilities, we have to deal with people stopping us in the hallway. Like if somebody comes up to the cart while we're working in a room, we have to stop what we're doing. And we don't get any added time for this. So we have to go up to the customer and be like, hi, how can I help you? And usually that doesn't take too long. It's like, oh, I need a couple of towels. But sometimes we get people who are like, oh, can you give me directions to here? Can you give me 15 towels? Can you give me a bunch of things and I'll come back and get more things? Or like along those lines. And then it takes time away from what you need to be doing. And we really don't get that much extra allotted time to us from, you know, the company. So if it seems like a housekeeper is like in a hurry when they're talking to you or seemingly just trying to get over with dealing with you, or there was like a tiny thing wrong with your room, please, please, please understand it's not you. We're not trying to be rude and we're not trying to be negligent. We're just stressed out of our minds because we're on a very, very, very tight schedule. All that being said, there are some people that just don't seem to have a clue on, I guess, appropriateness when it comes to housekeepers. The first place that I worked that I was a housekeeper, we had a rule where the patrons were not allowed to be in the room with us because that was considered unsafe for us. Because it's like, hey, you're in a room, that's their room. Like, we had safety procedures like put your cart in front of the door to block it. We had the door stoppers, all that kind of stuff. But somebody could easily push past quietly to get in the room and take off the door stopper. Or if somebody is like, oh yeah, come on in, we don't know if they're gonna, you know, try to attack us. A lot of bad things can happen. And like, I'm not trying to imply that, like, oh, you're dangerous, obviously. I'm just pointing out the fact that statistically, housekeepers and hotel workers are among the highest of people who get violently assaulted because it's an easy target. So in the first place that I worked, we had a rule that, you know, the patrons couldn't come in while we were cleaning, or if they were like, oh yeah, come in, we had to be like, I'm so sorry, I can't go in there while you're in there for my safety. And if they insisted, we could call somebody else to stand at the door and watch while we cleaned, which was honestly a waste of their time, but what are you gonna do? But even with that rule in place, people just seem to be really clueless. Like, people so frequently would just see my cart very close to the door, blocking it on purpose, and like they would just go around it and walk in the room and just be, and like sneak up and scare me half the time and just be like, oh yeah, hey, I'm just grabbing something, or I'm gonna use my bathroom, or hey, can I ask you for something? And like, a lot of the time, they'll show up on the other side of the cart and they'll walk up and they'll try to get around and be like, oh, I'm sorry, you can't come in here while I'm in here. And they'll do it anyway. Like, just completely ignoring, or they'll come in while I'm working and be like, oh, I'm sorry, you can't be in here while I'm cleaning. It's a safety precaution. They're like, oh, okay, and then they leave and then they come back and do it again. Like, clueless. Either that or they just don't give a shit. But in the second place that I worked, the second hotel, we didn't even have a rule like that. There was no, they can't be in the same room as you. Like, they were allowed to, which led to a lot of unpleasant things. There was one time I was cleaning one of the bigger suites, like one of the really big suites, and I heard a noise towards the front when I was like off and around the corner in a different room. So I came out and turned around and didn't see anybody. All of a sudden, this random guy walks out of the bathroom, scares the living shit out of me, and I'm just like, I'm sorry, what are you doing in here? And he's like, oh, I just wanted to see what the bigger suites look like. And I'm just like, yes, the room was vacant at this point. I was cleaning it because it was vacant and it needed to be cleaned, but like, what if somebody had been occupying this room and you just fucking walked in? That guy didn't know it was vacant. And like, there was another time when I was cleaning a room next door to another one, and I got notified by my manager, hey, the people in the room next to you also booked that room, so go as quickly as you can while still doing your best job so that they can have both of their rooms. And it was like some friendly people. I talked to them briefly when I got to my room, but I started cleaning, and one of them just walks in and is like, oh, you're gonna clean it so well, aren't you? I was just like, yeah, can you please leave so I can do that? And like, I tried to be polite and it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna keep doing this. And they're like, oh, okay. And then they left, and then they came through the connecting door, because you know how you have those connecting doors between rooms when people book more than one. And they just come in through that door, scare the crap out of me again, and they're like, oh yeah, we're thinking about getting this room once it was clean. Like, I know what they were doing was trying to get me to hurry up, because it was very obviously a, this is our room too, hurry the fuck up kind of an attitude, but in a polite way, in a polite, trying to be subtle, not at all subtle kind of way. But like a solid 10 or 12 times, one or both of the adults kept walking in and like just watching me, like staring at me, or like looking at stuff or wanting to bring their stuff in while I was still cleaning, and it was distracting. Which, I don't know if you know this, but being distracted because somebody is staring at you kind of tends to make you move slower. Especially with people like me who have anxiety, So now I'm having to focus on keeping my anxiety in check and still trying to work, so I'm going doubly slower than I would have been because you're watching me and scaring the crap out of me. I have a lot of like little stories like that, but those were just the two main ones, I guess. And please be kind to your housekeepers and your housemen, because they all work their asses off. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, but if not, that is perfectly okay and perfectly understandable. But hopefully I'll see you in the next video anyway. So until then, I hope your day is just as lovely as you are. Bye-bye. If I had a star for every time you brightened my day, I'd have the whole galaxy in my hands.